Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear my voice?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's good. So, today we are going to start the third unit. This is the most difficult unit of entrepreneurship development. See how many things we have to cover. So, today only we are going to cover a very short topic. I'm trying to make you enter into a different area altogether, the different sources of finance. We will just we'll just learn about this topic. Once we are clear about the sources of finance, next class will be focusing on term loan, sources of short-term finance, capitalization, and if possible, venture capital. That will be covered in the next class. So part by part we'll cover. So this is the most important unit for any entrepreneurship development student, anyone who wants to learn about entrepreneurship and wants to be an entrepreneur. So the sources of finance, there's a quote. Simple, it means different ways a business can obtain money. That is known as sources of finance. A proper definition now, if we want to have our own startup or we want to do our own business, then in order to find out the different sources of finance is the most challenging aspect, because no one will give you money. The owner has to start the business by his own money, right? Just a second, let me so in order to find the capital or the required money to start your own venture, it's very difficult. So until and unless we are not thorough about the different sources of finance, starting a new setup is extremely difficult. Clear? Getting it or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. So, what does this business finance mean? Business finance, if we talk about the definition of business finance, it is the funds required to establish, either to establish a business, operate the business, or expand the business. We need money. We need finance. So the finance which is required to establish, operate, and expand is known as business finance. Funds are specifically required, okay, for various purposes. Like we can purchase tangible asset, property, tangible which we can see, touch and feel. So tangible assets will be your furniture, machinery, building, yes, offices, factories, etc. So either to purchase tangible objects or intangible assets which we cannot see but they are property of the organization, like patents, goodwill, technical expertise, trademark, copyright. So for all these things you need money. And if we are implementing or if we are using that money in the growth of the business, that is known as business finance. Apart from all these things, we require finance for more things also, like for day-to-day operational activities of the business, in order to purchase raw material, in order to pay salary, in order to collect bills, collect money from clients. Each and every step in the business, we need money. We need finance. So that is why sources of finance is extremely important for any entrepreneur to know it. Okay? Clear about why we need sources of finance or why business finance is extremely important? Okay. Fine. Next. What are the classification of sources of funds or finance? So basically, we can classify the sources of finance into three categories based on period, based on ownership, and based on generation. So maximum emphasis on today's class we have given on generation. Okay. So, and short-term sources of finance we will be dealing in the next class, which is there in your syllabus. Based on period, it is divided into 3 subdivisions. First is long-term source of finance. What does this mean, long-term source of finance? When we are utilizing the finance for more than 5 years. If the money that is required is going to be utilized for more than 5 years, then that is a case of long-term source of finance. Okay. So what will happen in that case? The fund is arranged through equity share or preference share and debentures. And normally it is accumulated, it is picked from the capital market. Capital market means wherein our money is invested for a longer period of time. That is known as capital market. Okay, so that is known as long-term source of finance. When we require money or where our money is utilized for more than 5 years, that is known as long-term source of finance. And we get that money, we can get that money from equity shares or preference shares. What are the medium-term source of finance? The finance that is going to last for more than 1 year but less than 5 years. Okay, the finance which is required to last for more than 1 year and less than 5 years is known as medium term source of finance. Now the source includes borrowings from a public deposit. You can either borrow from a public deposit, you can borrow it from commercial banks, you can borrow from commercial papers, you can borrow from any loans from any financial institute, or you can go for lease financing. Any of the categories you can easily go and you can start up with. Okay, so have you anyone has any idea on what is a commercial paper? Any idea what is a commercial paper? Anyone? Any idea? What does commercial paper mean? Okay.
Bonds.
Yeah, it's a type of bonds, definitely. Okay, let me write it here. See, commercial paper is a money market security. Okay, money market security, we get it through money, sold by various large corporations. Okay, from time to time they sell these money market security instruments. Why they sell it? So that they can be able to meet any short-term obligations like salary they are not able to pay. So they sell some of their security or they sell some of their bonds, you can say, as Ashish said, they can sell for short term period. Okay, and it is backed by an issuing bank. Some bank has to back it, or a company, the company has to promise that it will pay the amount on the maturity date specified on the note. Okay, so it is selling for a short term so that some amount can be generated and it can meet the medium obligations like payroll obligations, other expenses of the organization. That is known as commercial paper. Any idea about lease financing? Any idea about lease financing? Anyone? Any idea about lease financing? This term. Now, where does it or where is it used? Okay. See, lease financing is a contractual agreement. Okay, it's an agreement between the owner of the asset. Suppose I am the owner of the fixed assets, I have land and everything, and you have come for asking me, and user of the assets, whereby the owner permits the user. जैसे हम लोग कोई land को lease में लेते हैं, what we do? We ask the owner, if he or she agrees, then he gives us in a lease, so that we can use it economically and pay the rent, whatever rent he has given for n number of years, we are going to pay that. That is known as lease financing. Okay. Now, short-term finance. These are funds just required for a year, for just one particular year. The funds that are required for just one particular year is known as short-term finance. Your working capital, the day-to-day capital that is required for running the business is known as working capital. That is coming under your short-term sources of finance. So this particular topic we will be completing in the next class. There's a topic that is known as sources of short-term finance. So that will be covered in the next class. Next categorization is based on ownership. Okay. As per ownership, it is divided into two types. One is owner's fund, that means capital, and another is borrowed funds. So owner's fund is known as owner's capital. The money that is financed by the company owners is known as owner's capital. It can be issued by issuing preference share. If I'm a limited company, then I can give my own shares in terms of preference shares. I can go for retained earnings. I can go for equity shares. Okay. Now you have idea about what is a equity share and what is a preference shares. But what does this retained earning mean? What does this retained earning mean? Now, retained earning means is the amount of net income, okay, net income left over for the business after it has paid out dividends to its shareholders. Now, let's say I have invested some money in Reliance. Okay, now Reliance has committed that 10% dividend rate, 10% interest in terms of dividend it will give me. Suppose I have invested 1,000, so 10% of 1,000 it will give me each year. So similarly, there are many other shareholders, they have also taken with the same value. So after giving the money, dividends to all the shareholders, whatever income is left over, whatever profit is left over, it can be reinvested back in the company for both purposes. So that is known as retained earnings. The money that is not paid to shareholders, okay, that is counted as retained earnings. So that is known as, again, that is a part of owner's fund. And these are long-term capital funds. Okay, capital funds means long-term we can invest, which forms a base for owners to obtain the right to control the firm's management and control operations. So these actually help the owner to exercise their right, okay, on the management and operations. Next is borrowed funds. The money, the finance that we are accumulating with the help of borrowings or loans for a particular period of time. That is known as borrowed funds. Like we take loans from banks and other financial institutions. That is known as borrowed funds. Next we have based on generation. It is categorized into two divisions. Internal sources, external sources. So today we are going to focus entirely on these two. The funds that are generated within the organization is known as internal source. The fund that is arranged from outside the organization is known as external sources. Okay. So today we are going to focus on these two. Now, there are 5 internal sources of finance. एक तो हो गया आपका ओनर का इन्वेस्टमेंट, कैपिटल आप बोल सकते हो, जो मनी ओनर खुद इन्वेस्ट किया है अपने बिजनेस में, दैट इज नोन एज ओनर्स इन्वेस्टमेंट. रिटेन प्रॉफिट, सेल ऑफ स्टॉक, सेल ऑफ फिक्स्ड असेट, डेप्ट कलेक्शन. डेप्ट मतलब बाकी, गिरवी, आपसे कोई पैसा लिया है और पैसा नहीं दिया है, दैट इज नोन एज डेप्ट. सो डेप्ट कलेक्शन, जैसे रिकवरी हम लोग करते हैं ना वैसा. सो ओनर्स इन्वेस्टमेंट, this is the money which comes from the owner's savings. ये स्टार्टअप कैपिटल की तरह यूज कर सकते हैं, हम ये पैसा यूज कर सकते हैं. एक्सपेंशन के लिए भी हमें जो पैसा चाहिए, we can categorize it into additional capital. So this is a long term source of finance. लंबे टाइम तक हम इसको ना निकाले तब भी चलेगा. Advantages, normally it is not repaid. नो इंटरेस्ट इज पेबल ऑन द अमाउंट। डिसएडवांटेज क्या है? एक लिमिट होता है, देयर इज अ लिमिट up to which the owner can invest in the business. If it is a sole proprietorship, he can invest. But if it is a partnership and if it is a company mode, then depends. There's a limit. Okay, that is known as owner's investment. Next है आपका retained profit. Okay, this source of finance is only available for a business which has been trading for more than 1 year. Startups के लिए retained profit नहीं है। 1 साल से ज्यादा अगर आपका कंपनी लास्टिंग कर रहा है, बिजनेस कर रहा है, तब जाके आपका रिटेन्ड प्रॉफिट हो सकता है। जैसे हमने आपको बोला रिटेन्ड अर्निंग, जो प्रॉफिट हम लोग अपने शेयर होल्डर्स को नहीं दे रहे हैं और ले आते हैं बिजनेस में री इन्वेस्ट करने के लिए, दैट इज नोन एज रिटेन्ड प्रॉफिट. It is when the profits made are plowed back into the business. It is utilized back in the business. That is known as your retained profit. It can be a medium or a long-term source of finance. एडवांटेज क्या है? ऑब्वियसली इसको रीपे करने की जरूरत नहीं है, इस पे इंटरेस्ट देने की भी जरूरत नहीं है, हम प्रॉफिट को ही री इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, तो क्या इंटरेस्ट है यहाँ? डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या है? नए बिजनेस हाउसेस के लिए दिस इज नॉट एप्लीकेबल एटलीस्ट 1 year and you have to make a profit. If you have no profit, then no investments can be done. Okay, so these are the disadvantages of retained profit. नेक्स्ट है आपका सेल ऑफ स्टॉक. कोई कुछ अनसोल्ड स्टॉक होते हैं जो कि सेल नहीं हो पाते हैं. So what happens? We go for sale counters. This is what happens in the January sales. तो एटलीस्ट हमारा लॉस तो नहीं होता है, कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन तो निकल के आ सकता है. इट इज व्हेन अगर प्रॉफिट भी हो गया तो वो प्रॉफिट भी हम बिजनेस में री इन्वेस्ट कर लेते हैं. इट इज व्हेन द प्रॉफिट्स मेड आर प्लाउड बैक इनटू द बिजनेस एंड दिस इज अ शॉर्ट टर्म सोर्स ऑफ फाइनेंस. एडवांटेजेस क्या है? इट्स अ क्विक वे ऑफ रेजिंग फाइनेंस. अगर आपके पास पैसे की जरूरत है, आप कुछ अपना स्टॉक बेच दो तो आपके पास तुरंत पैसे आ जाएंगे. अगर हम स्टॉक को सेल कर रहे हैं तो होल्डिंग चार्ज, स्टोरेज चार्ज, वो सब घट जाएगा. एंड डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या है? एक आपको अगर आप सेल पे प्रोडक्ट्स को, यू आर कीपिंग द प्रोडक्ट्स ऑन सेल, देन व्हाट विल हैपन? You have to reduce the price of the stock. So that is the greatest disadvantage. Understood till this much?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next is your sale of fixed assets. Assets आपको मालूम है, property of the organization. Fixed मतलब land, machine, material जो fixed है, irrespective of production, these are going to remain the same. So आप क्या कर सकते हो? अगर पैसे की जरूरत है तो आप अपना कोई fixed assets भी बेच सकते हो. Piece of machinery that is no longer needed, you can sell it and you can get money. बिजनेस हाउसेस के पास नॉर्मली सरप्लस फिक्स्ड एसेट नहीं होता है जो वो सेल कर सकते हैं. देयर इज आल्सो अ लिमिट, एक मैक्सिमम कैप होता है जहां तक वो सेल कर सकते हैं. बियॉन्ड दैट दे कैन नॉट डू. दिस इज अ मीडियम टर्म सोर्स ऑफ फाइनेंस. एडवांटेज क्या है? अगर कोई फिक्स्ड एसेट हमारा यूज ही नहीं हो रहा है तो उसको पड़े पड़े बेकार करने से बेहतर है कि वी कैन गो फॉर selling it off and we can raise finance. So that's an advantage. But what is a disadvantage? Surplus asset किसी के पास नहीं होता है. Asset normally लोग नहीं बेचते हैं. So surplus asset की बात तो है ही नहीं. And it is a very slow method of raising finance, although internal source. Debt collection, जैसे मैंने आपको बोला, आपने किसी को पैसा दिया है, वो आपको रिटर्न नहीं किया है, गिरवी है वो पैसा, तो रिकवरी हम लोग जब करते हैं, that is known as debt collection. A person who has taken money on rent or who has borrowed money from the business is known as debtor. तो बिजनेस हाउसेस क्या कर सकता है? उन लोगों से रिकवरी ला सकता है from the debtors by collecting money from the debtors. Not all businesses have debtors. Okay, and this is a short term source of finance. एडवांटेजेस क्या है? नो एडिशनल कॉस्ट इन गेटिंग दिस फाइनेंस, ज्यादा कॉस्ट हम लोग यहाँ पे यूज नहीं करते हैं. इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ द बिजनेस नॉर्मल ऑपरेशंस. ओके. एंड डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या है कि ये बैड डेप्ट होने का चांसेस बहुत ज्यादा है. एक बंदा बोलेगा मेरे पास पैसा है ही नहीं बेटा, तुम मार ले मेरे को, आई कैन नॉट गिव यू द मनी. सो व्हाट हैपेंस, दिस एंटायर मनी दैट वी हैव गिवन टू दैट पर्सन इज नाउ नेवर गोइंग टू बी रीपेड बैक. नॉन परफॉर्मिंग एसेट हो गया वो मेरा, बैड डेप्ट हो गया मेरा. सो दैट रिस्क इज ऑल्सो देयर. दीज आर द इंटरनल सोर्सेज ऑफ फाइनेंस. किसी को डाउट है इंटरनल सोर्सेज ऑफ फाइनेंस में? Any doubts? Anyone? No answer? Great. Are you people sleeping or what?
No, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. आगे चलते हैं. To the external sources of finance. जैसे आपने देखा था 5 इंटरनल सोर्सेज हैं. एक्सटर्नल सोर्सेज बहुत सारे हैं. बैंक लोन, ओवरड्राफ्ट, एडिशनल पार्टनर्स, शेयर इशू, लीजिंग, हायर परचेज, मॉर्गेज, ट्रेड क्रेडिट, गवर्नमेंट ग्रांट्स. तो बैंक लोन का मतलब क्या है? हम बैंक से लोन लाते हैं, borrowed at an agreed rate of interest over a period of time. We take money from the banks. We take loan from the banks. It's a medium or long-term source of finance. एडवांटेजेस क्या है? रीपेमेंट सेट है विच इज गुड फॉर बजटिंग. हम बजट कर लिए कि हमको हर महीना इतना पैसा देना पड़ेगा, तो दैट्स एन एडवांटेज. Disadvantage, it is expensive because we have to repay the interest. Okay, not only the principal but we are going to pay the interest, so obviously it is expensive. We are paying more than what we have taken. And normally banks take security. You have to put something as security as mortgage to the banks which you don't want to. अगर मान लो आप पैसा नहीं दे पाए तो ये पैसा तो गया और साथ साथ आपने जो भी सिक्योरिटी में डाला हुआ है वो भी जाएगा. बैंक ओवरड्राफ्ट कभी कभार क्या होता है, इफ यू हैव गुड ट्रांजैक्शन फ्लो विद द बैंक्स, सपोज आई डू अ ट्रांजैक्शन ऑफ 20 lakhs each day एंड अचानक से मेरे को एक दिन 30 लाख का जरूरत पड़ा. सो आई रिक्वेस्ट द बैंक कि देखो हम हर दिन तो पिछले 6 महीने से 20 लाख का ट्रांजैक्शन हर दिन कर रहे हैं, तो प्लीज काइंडली लेट मी 10 lakhs. सो बैंक विल गिव यू instantly without any documentation, but वो उस 10 lakhs में वो interest charge करेगा. This is where the business is allowed to be overdrawn on its account. तो इसको बोला जाता है overdraft. इसका मतलब है कि business houses checks भी लिख सकते हैं, हालांकि उनके पास enough money ना हो. 20 लाख था उनके अकाउंट में बट उनको 30 लाख चाहिए, बट फिर भी वो चेक लिख सकते हैं अगर ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी है तो. And this is a short-term source of finance. Hardly for 1 week they give you and they charge very good rate of interest. बहुत ज्यादा interest वो लोग लेते हैं. So it's actually expensive. अगर आप इसको लंबे टाइम तक खींचोगे आपका इंटरेस्ट उतना ज्यादा बढ़ता जाएगा. And इंटरेस्ट भी हम लोग पे कर रहे हैं, so that is also, it is also expensive. But अगर आपको पैसा तुरंत चाहिए, so this is a good way to cover the period between going out of and coming into a business. आपके हाथ से एक ऑर्डर नहीं जा गया, so it's an advantage and it's used as a short term. Okay, बैंक लोन अगर आप देखोगे तो it's comparatively cheaper. बैंक ओवरड्राफ्ट, एडिशनल पार्टनर्स, जैसे दिस इज सोर्स फाइनेंस सुटेबल फॉर अ पार्टनरशिप बिजनेस. आप सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप बिजनेस कर रहे हो, सो वन पर्सन इज डूइंग द बिजनेस. Now you found that it is very difficult for you to run the business and you want one more partner. So what will happen? You will look for partnership business, additional partners. So अगर नया पार्टनर आ रहा है तो वो एक्स्ट्रा कैपिटल भी, पैसा भी लेके आएगा. अगर जो पैसा वो लेके आएगा वो पैसा को हमको रीपे नहीं करना पड़ेगा या फिर कोई इंटरेस्ट भी देना नहीं पड़ेगा. बट डिसएडवांटेज क्या हो जाएगा? कंट्रोल यहाँ पे डाइल्यूट हो रहा है. आपके हाथ में पूरा कंट्रोल था. अब you have to ask that person, and profits will also be now divided. That is additional profit, additional partners. Share issue. अगर आपका एक लिमिटेड कंपनी, जैसे अभी that hotel name, Ola. No, what is the name of Oyo? Oyo was actually trying to set up as a limited company, जहां पे वो अपना IPO इशू करना चाहता था, शेयर्स इशू करवाना चाहता था. Okay, because in order to source more fund into the business, the best way is issuing shares, and it's a long term source of finance. ठीक है. एडवांटेज क्या है? डजंट हैव टू बी रीपेड. हम इंटरेस्ट नहीं दे रहे हैं, यहाँ पे हम डिविडेंड दे रहे हैं out of profit. That too, we are not paying any interest. Persons are investing in the business. The money will you can say that I have invested 1 lakh. There's no commitment that हम आपको 1 लाख दे देंगे. नहीं, हम आपको 10% इंटरेस्ट के हिसाब से हम आपको देंगे जब हमारा प्रॉफिट होगा. So disadvantage क्या है? Profits will be paid to the dividends, and ownership of the company could change hands. अगर आप कहीं दिक्कतें हुआ and आप 51% shareholder थे, but still money is required and you sold off 2% to someone else, तो आप हो गए 49% shareholder. जो बंदा 51% का shareholder हो गया, he will be the owner of the business. So यहाँ पे क्या हो गया? Ownership of the company can change hands now. And also जितने भी shareholder हैं, they have the ownership rights here. They can exercise their veto power. They have the ownership rights also. So ये भी एक external source of finance है. Leasing हमने अभी पढ़ा. Okay. हम क्या करते हैं? We obtain assets. पूरा का पूरा अमाउंट ना देके asset, we are not paying the use amount, but we are obtaining assets. How? We are taking it on a rent by setting repayment schedules. It is also a medium source of finance. What are the advantages? Business houses can easily, quickly update themselves with the latest equipments. And payments भी हम अचानक नहीं दे रहे. बजटिंग में हमको यूज होगा. कैसे? हम पेमेंट्स फिक्स कर लिए ना, जो जिससे हम लीज में लिए हैं, हम उनको बोले देखिए हम लीज में लिए हैं 10 साल, हर महीना हम आपको इतना देंगे. तो ये हमारा बजटिंग में भी हेल्प हुआ और तुरंत ही हमको पैसा देने को जरूरत भी नहीं पड़ा. बट डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या है? पर आखिरी में अगर आप कैलकुलेट करोगे, ये एक्सपेंसिव है. एंड द असेट, you are not the owner. You are using, you are paying, but you are not the owner. Owner is the company who has given you the asset on rent. So you are not the owner. Next है आपका hire purchase. It's a very important thing. यहाँ पे क्या होता है? देखो, same thing. हम एक साथ पूरा अमाउंट नहीं देते हैं, but business houses are obtaining assets. Involves paying an initial deposit. पहले हम डाउन पेमेंट कुछ दे देते हैं, and then EMI के हिसाब से regular payments we are paying. Now you will ask me, ma'am, what is the difference between hire purchase and leasing? Simple. hire purchase में क्या होता है? हम पूरा पेमेंट करने के बाद वो पूरा business is owning the property, is owning the asset. But lease केस में वो नहीं होता है. आपने 10 साल तक एग्रीमेंट किया है, 10 साल के बाद वो ओनरशिप ट्रांसफर हो जाता है वापसी से, अगर आप रिन्यू नहीं कर रहे हो. बट हायर परचेज में क्या है? वंस यू हैव पेड फॉर 10 years, द प्रॉपर्टी बिलोंग्स टू यू. दिस इज अ मीडियम सोर्स ऑफ फाइनेंस. एडवांटेजेस, बिजनेस हाउसेस तुरंत ही इक्विपमेंट यूज कर सकते हैं, बजटिंग में यूज होगा. एंड मोर ओवर, वंस ऑल द रिपेमेंट्स आर डन, you will own the asset. जैसे कार, we are giving a down payment and we are giving in EMIs. Once EMI is owner, full control over the car is upon you, and it's an expensive method, okay, compared to buying with cash, क्योंकि हम लोग ज्यादा पैसा यहाँ पे दे रहे हैं. Understood till this much? Hire purchase, any doubt? Any doubt? Guys, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Fine. Next is mortgage. Now what does mortgage mean? जैसे मैंने आपको बोला कि मेरे को एक लोन चाहिए, तो मैं अभी बैंक के पास जाऊंगी कि सर आई नीड अ लोन फॉर अ बिजनेस, तो बैंक बोलेगा कि क्या मेरे को दे सकते हो, प्रॉपर्टी है तुम्हारे पास? मैं बोलूंगी हाँ है, प्रॉपर्टी है। सो आप उसको गिरवी रखोगे बैंक के पास। अगर आप पैसा नहीं दे पाए सो वो प्रॉपर्टी आपका जाएगा। दिस इज अ लोन सिक्योर्ड ऑन प्रॉपर्टी। नॉर्मली 25 साल तक ये दिया जाता है आपको टाइम लिमिट। होम लोन्स, हाउस लोन्स और नॉर्मली मॉर्गेज जब हम लैंड को रखते हैं तो 25 साल तक दिया जाता है। द बिजनेस विल ओन द प्रॉपर्टी वंस द फाइनल पेमेंट हैज बीन डन। ठीक है, जितना अमाउंट हमने लेके आए थे बिजनेस करने के लिए, एक बार वो पूरा अमाउंट दे दिए तो बैंक हमको हमारा जमीन का पेपर हमको वापस कर लेगा एंड प्रॉपर्टी भी हमारा होगा, वो एसेट भी हमारा होगा। दिस इज अ लॉन्ग टर्म सोर्स ऑफ फाइनेंस। एडवांटेज क्या है? बिजनेस हैज द यूज ऑफ द प्रॉपर्टी। ये नहीं कि आप प्रॉपर्टी से आपको निकाल देंगे, नहीं, आप वो प्रॉपर्टी में रह के आप अपना बिजनेस कर सकते हो, सब कुछ कर सकते हो। बजटिंग में यूज होगा एंड एक बार आपने पूरा पेमेंट कर लिया, वो एसेट भी आपका, वो प्रॉपर्टी का जो भी कागजात है दैट विल आल्सो बी रिटर्न बैक। व्हाट आर द डिसएडवांटेजेस? इट्स एन एक्सपेंसिव मेथड, and if the business does not pay on time to the bank people, then the property can be retaken by the or taken over by the bank people. That is known as mortgage. Next है आपका trade credit. Simple, if you look after the term trade credit means buy now pay later. 30 दिन का आपको टाइम दिया जाता है। It's a short term source of finance. ठीक है, that is known as buy now pay later. Flipkart is also giving you some offers, so it's a concept of trade credit. So you can, what are the advantages? You can sell the goods first and pay them later, or you can purchase the goods first and you can pay later. Instantly आपको पैसा देने की जरूरत नहीं है। No interest is charged if money is paid within the agreed time. 30 दिन का आपको टाइम मिल रहा है, तो 30 दिन भी बहुत बड़ी अमाउंट, बहुत बड़ा टाइम है, तो उतने में आपका कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं चार्ज होगा अगर आप उतने टाइम में आप उसको पैसा रिटर्न कर रहे हो तो। डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या है? डिस्काउंट गिवन फॉर कैश पेमेंट वुड बी लॉस्ट। अगर आप कैश पेमेंट दे रहे हो देन यू विल बी गेटिंग सर्टेन डिस्काउंट, बट अगर आप ट्रेड क्रेडिट ले रहे हो देन दैट पर्टिकुलर डिस्काउंट इज लॉस्ट। एंड businesses need to carefully manage their cash flow to ensure that they will have money available when the debt is due to be paid. जब आपका टाइमिंग 30 दिन का टाइम आप लोग लिए हो, 30 दिन के अंदर आपको पे करना है, तो ये 30 दिन के लिए ऐसा नहीं कि आपको पैसा नहीं देना पड़ेगा, आपको पैसा देना पड़ेगा। So the business houses have to carefully manage their cash flow. So that is a disadvantage. नेक्स्ट है आपका गवर्नमेंट ग्रांट्स। बहुत सारे ऐसे गवर्नमेंट ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं जो कि इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, नए बिजनेस हाउसेस में भी इन्वेस्ट करते हैं एंड एस्टैब्लिश बिजनेस हाउसेस में भी इन्वेस्ट करते हैं, जैसे केबी के एरियाज में। ओके, ओडिशा, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट ओडिशा, केबी के एरियाज कलाहांडी, बलांगीर एंड कंधमाल, हाँ, बहुत सारे ऐसे जोन्स हैं। अगर आप वहां पे इन्वेस्ट करोगे, वहां पे फैक्ट्री सेट करोगे, तो गवर्नमेंट आपको हेल्प करेगा, सब्सिडी देगा। ओके, सो दैट इज द केस ऑफ एक्सटर्नल सोर्सेज ऑफ फाइनेंस। वहां पे क्या है कि यू नीड नॉट रीपे द सब्सिडी अमाउंट्स दैट आर प्रोवाइडेड बाय द गवर्नमेंट। डिसएडवांटेजेस क्या है? बहुत सारी दिक्कत है। जैसे आप अगर कोई बिजनेस हाउस या आप केबी के एरिया में सेट करोगे, सो देयर आर सर्टेन कंडीशंस व्हिच आर डिफिकल्ट। जैसे माउंटेन एरिया है, घाट्स है, so that those are difficult for a business to operate. Okay, and normally maximum businesses are not eligible for such grant. So government grant depends upon the business that you want to do. It is also an external source of finance. Understood about the external sources of finance? Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Now, the factors affecting choice of sources of finance. किस बेसिस पे आप sources of finance choose करोगे? पहला तो है purpose. क्यों आपको ये पैसा चाहिए? दूसरा है time period. कितना time तक आपको ये पैसा चाहिए? How long the finance will be needed? Amount. कितना पैसा चाहिए? And last but not the least is ownership and size of the business. Who is going to have the ownership, enjoy the ownership, and size of the business कितना है, कितना चाहिए आपको. So these are the factors affecting the source of finance. Okay. So any questions you have? Thank you. So this is uploaded in the YouTube. Okay, links I think are shared. So later on also you can check on if you have any doubts. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Fine.
ma'am.
Thank you. So let's meet next class.